And
Hello and welcome, I'm Thomas Porteous and you're watching another episode of Explained with me. Netflix has just agreed to buy Warner Brothers Discovery's film, television and streaming businesses in a deal worth $72 billion. This is one of the biggest media transactions in the last decade and could largely reshape the global entertainment landscape. Interestingly, just a few months ago, Netflix was publicly downplaying any plans to buy a major Hollywood studio. But everything changed when Warner Brothers Discovery launched an auction in October after turning down offers from Paramount and Skydance. Netflix saw an opportunity and decided to step into the bidding. At first, Netflix executives were simply curious about Warner Brothers, but they quickly realized the strategic potential. Now, Warner Brothers has a library of movies and TV shows that spans a century, such as content is incredibly valuable for streaming platforms. In fact, older titles can account for as much as 80% of what people watch. Also, you see, Warner Brothers Studios and its theatrical distribution and promotion units fit neatly with Netflix's streaming model. HBO Max, part of the deal, could also benefit from Netflix's experience in streaming, helping it grow faster. The idea of acquiring these assets first surfaced after Warner Brothers Discovery announced plans in June to split into two companies. One was said to focus on cable networks and the other was to house Warner Brothers Studios, HBO and HBO Max. Now that we understand why Netflix got interested, let's look at how the bidding war unfolded and why Netflix ultimately came out on top. Now, once Warner Brothers Discovery opened the auction in October, competition heated up quickly. Netflix was up against major media giants, including Paramount and Comcast, the parent of NBC Universal. Paramount had moved first, submitting a series of escalating offers starting in September. Their goal was to prevent Warner Brothers Discovery from splitting its businesses, which could have made the studio harder to acquire. Meanwhile, advisors inside Warner Brothers Discovery suggested a change in strategy, and that was to spin off the cable networks first. This would make the studios and streaming assets more attractive to bidders like Netflix. Netflix wasted no time. Executives, financial advisors and legal teams held daily morning calls, including during Thanksgiving week, to prepare their offer by December the 1st deadline. On the other side, Warner Brothers Discovery's board met every day in the final stretch, evaluating the bids carefully. In the end, Netflix submitted the only fully binding and complete offer. While Comcast had proposed merging its entertainment division with Warner Brothers, it would have taken years to execute. But Netflix's bid promised immediate value and certainty, which ultimately convinced the board. With the bidding war settled, let's now break down the exact details of the deal, including assets, price, and what this means for both companies. Netflix has officially agreed to acquire Warner Brothers Discovery's film studio HBO and also HBO Max streaming service. The cash and stock deal values the company's equity at $72 billion, while the total enterprise value, including Warner Brothers' debt, comes to around $82.7 billion. This deal gives Netflix control over some of the most iconic franchises in entertainment history, including Harry Potter, Game of Thrones, and popular films like Looney Tunes, The Matrix, and Lord of the Rings. It also includes Warner Brothers' film and television studios, which will still continue to produce content for cinemas and third-party platforms alongside Netflix originals. The merger is expected to bring significant savings of around $2 to $3 billion, mainly by cutting overlaps in support, technology and infrastructure. While HBO will retain its brand, Netflix plans to integrate Warner Brothers' library with its own original series like Stranger Things, creating a combined streaming powerhouse. Both company boards have unanimously approved the agreement. Netflix executives see this as a rare opportunity to position the company for success for decades, while Warner Brothers leadership believes it brings together two of the greatest storytelling companies in the world. However, the deal also has drawn criticism. Industry unions, including the Writers Guild of America, have warned that the merger could reduce jobs, push down wages, and limit content diversity. Cinema operators have also expressed concern that Netflix's control over Warner Brothers could pose a threat to theatres worldwide. While the deal is now official, industry reactions have been mixed. Let's take a closer look at what analysts and media experts are saying about this historic acquisition. Industry analysts view the acquisition as a bold statement from Netflix, signalling its ambition to dominate global entertainment. Many see it as a logistical move for Warner Brothers, whose studio and streaming operations are valuable but underutilized. At the same time, experts warn that combining two massive companies is not easy. Integrating Netflix's digital-first model with Warner Brothers' legacy operations could create challenges in management, straining creative culture and content production. Analysts also point to possible effects on consumers. With Netflix controlling a vast library, subscription costs could rise and competition might decrease. On the positive side, Netflix has promised to continue releasing Warner Brothers films in cinemas, which should help preserve theatrical experiences. Meanwhile, financial analysts highlight the potential for cost savings, but also note that regulators will scrutinize the deal closely. The merger could impact prices, content diversity, and industry dynamics, making regulatory approval a critical next step. Some experts have suggested that while this acquisition could strengthen Netflix's long-term position, it might also lead to reduced output in films and TV, as the merged company will always be seeking efficiencies and scale. To fully appreciate the significance of this merger, it's important to understand the history of Warner Brothers, which is the studio at the very heart of this deal. So, Warner Brothers is one of the most historic and influential studios in Hollywood. Founded in 1923 by the Warner Brothers, Harry, Albert, and Sam and Jack, the studio quickly became a pioneer in film production. Its first official release was a silent drama called Main Street. By the 1930s, Warner Brothers was producing around 100 films each year and controlled close to 360 theatres across the United States. Additionally, the studio played a key role during World War II, producing acclaimed films like Casablanca, which remain timeless classics. Over the decades, Warner Brothers expanded into television, animation, and comics, also acquiring DC Comics along the way. In the 21st century, Warner Brothers released some of the most successful franchises ever, including Harry Potter and Batman. These properties alone generate enormous revenue from movie merchandise and global licensing. And even in the current year, Warner Brothers has released hits like Minecraft, Movie, and Sinners, which continue to perform strongly at the box office. With this acquisition, Netflix not only gains access to over a century of films and TV shows, but also to current high-performing releases. The deal is expected to close within 12 to 18 months after regulatory approval and as the Warner Brothers Discovery's corporate split finalizes. While Warner Brothers remains part of Netflix's upcoming empire, one major property is not included, the news giant CNN. Let's see how this spin-off affects the network. As per reports, CNN will remain outside Netflix's acquisition. Instead, it will anchor a new company called Discovery Global, along with cable networks like TNT Sports, Discovery Channel, Food Network, and Bleacher Report. This spin-off is expected to be completed by the third quarter of next year. For CNN, this separation has both challenges and opportunities. On one hand, cable news viewership has been declining for years, and after CNN often trails rivals like Fox News and MSNBC. On the other hand, operating independently from the studio and streaming divisions could allow CNN to focus on its digital transformation and subscription strategy. But industry experts suggest that the spin-off may actually strengthen CNN's position. Without any pressure to align with streaming-first strategies, the CNN network can focus on its core journalism and innovation while managing budgets more efficiently. Staffers are cautiously optimistic, noting that the network now has stability and clear direction under CEO Mark Thompson. Critics, however, warn that being financially independent could expose CNN to market pressures and intense scrutiny over every dollar invested in journalism. The network will now need to balance financial sustainability with maintaining editorial standards. The acquisition has raised concerns among political leaders in the United States, most notably US President Donald Trump. He has stressed on Netflix's big market share and warned that combining it with Warner Brothers franchises could create competition issues. Let's listen in.
That's a question. They have a very big market share. And when they have Warner Brothers, that share goes up a lot. So I don't know. That's going to be for some economists to tell. And also, and I'll be involved in that decision too. They have a very big market share.
Additionally, Trump has also indicated that he might personally weigh in on whether the merger should proceed. Meanwhile, Netflix's leadership sees this as a rare opportunity to secure long-term success, combining two of the most influential storytelling companies in history. Regulatory authorities, including the US Justice Department, are also expected to examine whether the merger violates antitrust laws. The Netflix-Warner Brothers deal isn't just about business transaction, it's a bold restructuring of the entertainment world. Netflix is no longer just a streaming platform, it's becoming a global content powerhouse, controlling some of the most beloved movies and series in history. But with great power comes great responsibility, as regulators, competitors and the industry itself will be watching its every move. In the coming years, how Netflix navigates integration, competition and creativity could set the stage for the next era of media entertainment. But one thing is certain, the story of Hollywood and streaming will never be the same again.